It's time for Coach's Corner on KCCR, presented by the South Dakota Office of Attorney General, Division of Consumer Protection. Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com is also brought to you by Bank West, Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota, Todd's Electric, Oahe Federal Credit Union, Shane's Pharmacy, Missouri River Dentistry, CHS River Plains, Edward Jones Financial, Ferding Electric, First Dakota National Bank, Gales Gas, and Lamb Motors. And now, your host for Coach's Corner, John Winkler.
And a good evening as we welcome you inside the KCCR studios for another edition of Coach's Corner. It's a jam-packed episode here tonight as we've got good conversations with our four coaches. Steve Steele, the Pierre Governors, after their state championship win last Friday, as well as also Landon Badger, the Oahe Capitals boys head coach, and Jim Wadeen, the head coach of the Oahe Capital girls. And then we'll talk with Sean Lewis, the head coach of the Pierre boys wrestling team, as their practice got underway on Monday. That's upcoming, and we've got a jam-packed show, so we'll get right to it. We'll come back next with Steve Steele, the head coach of the Pierre Governors, here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
No one likes to have electrical problems, but when they happen, call Todd's Electric at 223-2518. With over 30 years of experience, Todd's Electric can handle any type of electrical problem, whether it's residential, commercial, or agriculture. Their knowledgeable staff knows and understands the importance of your home, business, or ag facility and are prepared to help. That number again is 223-2518. Todd's Electric Service, serving the Pierre-Fort Pierre area. Todd's Electric Service, the line to power. It takes hard work to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than just sports. It also goes for your financial goals. You work hard for your money. You deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. Your local Edward Jones financial advisor can help. If your investments aren't getting you closer to the win, visit edwardjones.com or stop by your local Pierre area Edward Jones office for a financial review. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Hey, I'm just here so I don't get fined, so y'all can sit here and ask me all the questions y'all want to. I'm going to answer with the same answer, so y'all can shoot if y'all please.
This is Coach's Corner on your home for the Pierre Governors, KCCR, and online at kccrradio.com.
As we welcome back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Steve Steele, the Pierre Governors, as they win the state championship 56-35 last Friday against Yankton. Coach, congratulations on that state championship. You've had a couple of days to digest it, and I talk about the biggest key of winning or the biggest takeaway. But I'll ask that again. But knowing that there's no film to look out for for this Friday's games and not having to worry about anything football wise, kind of until next year. What was that biggest takeaway of getting that state championship?
Yeah, I mean, it was. They're all special. This one was just a little bit more special. I think just because of everything that happened in the last year. And I think these guys taught us a lot of lessons this season. Just about fighting through adversity, being able to bounce back. And again that kind of worked with our whole theme of Empire Strikes Back. These kids did that all season long, and they really manifested a beautiful moment Friday night.
Yeah, what a cool moment at the end of that game, and like you said, a beautiful moment of being able. Jacob Van Balen gets to hoist the trophy, bring it back to the Governor football team, and something that I think there wasn't a dry eye watching that happen and still thinking about that brings up a lot of smiles, but a lot of emotion to it too.
Yeah, and it was everything everything to this team to make that happen. For him, for his parents, for Aiden. And for the community, it was a challenging summer for the community in a lot of ways, and I think that hopefully this was able to provide, again, happy tears, as opposed to some of the not so happy ones that have happened throughout the last few months. And so just very proud of the guys for putting their mind to something that's truly greater than themselves. They wanted to win a championship, but they didn't just want to win a championship. They wanted to do it for a lot of reasons. Like I said, beyond the game of football.
The game itself here, it was 28-21 at the end of the first quarter, and things were just flying off of the handle for a little while. The first 4 minutes of the game took about 35 minutes worth of real time, and there was just touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. Obviously, as an offensive-minded guy, you love to see all the points get put up. Maybe not so much against your team, but really there had to kind of calm down, but not really the same point, because the offense was going so good and so fast that you didn't want to just say, okay, we have to settle everybody down. Let's just keep going and scoring points, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was the first game I've ever been a part of where the referees were like, hey, media timeout. We need a media timeout. After the touchdown, kick return, one-play touchdown. I mean, that's a lot of running for those guys. And, I think that was the kind of funny part. We get the ball, 10 seconds left or something in the first quarter, and we ran the ball and then took the quarter break. And they're just like, thank you. I'm like, yeah, everyone needs to take a deep breath here. But, I mean, it was a lot of fun. And, again, I think that's the fun part of, you have a plan for the game, and then ultimately you've got to coach and play the game as it comes, and that wasn't exactly how you planned it, but at the same point in time, it was the game we had, and, a lot of credit to the kids and the staff for finding a way to get through it and use what we had available and find ways to get the job done.
You scored just 7 points in that second quarter, but it didn't feel like the offense really took a step back. It just felt like the game time started to quickly move down. But the defense, after the first quarter, allowed just that 7 points in the second quarter, then 7 points the entire second half for a game that, you felt like at some point it was going to slow down. The pace of the scoring is going to slow down. But the defense to be able to stand tall after that first quarter and really force that game to be a different scoring game than what it could have been really says a lot, because that momentum on the offensive side for both teams was flying off the charts, and that defense for Pierre really stepped up.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knew that the first quarter pace was unsustainable. You're not going to have a football game finish 112-84.
Would have been wild.
It would have been insane. But I mean, you just know that that's not going to happen. And I think that, again, credits our defensive staff for doing a great job keeping the kids calm. And understanding, like, hey, we talked about it, whether we win 2-0 or 112-84. The most important part is the win, and finding ways to understand, what has to happen. To be able to get the win. It's not always you have to go and you have to get a 3 and out. Sometimes it's hey, we're going to play it out, and when we win first down, that's when we're going to be aggressive and try and win second and third and get off the field. And I think that was a little bit of how we had to play that defensively. It wasn't always, hey, we're going to go out and we're going to try and get a 3 and out here. I mean, yes, you are, but the realistic fact is that if they get 8 yards on first down, let them get the first down and win the next first down, in some ways. So, I think the guys did a great job staying positive. Again, that's a tough thing, tough adversity to go through, but they stayed positive throughout the whole game of it, and found ways to really take over in the second half.
Well, and that biggest stop in that first half was the 3 and out back in their own territory, where you felt like one first down, maybe they could have kept going, or they could have just ran out the clock. Well, they didn't get a chance to do that, and you guys were able to then get the Hail Mary toss, 51-yard touchdown pass from Jaron Deal to Cooper Twilliger, and what a heck of a play by the tight end Twilliger to make that catch, and then have 3 guys and the wherewithal from the teammates to say, we got to get this guy to the end zone. We're going to push we're going to use every ounce of us right here to go push him into the end zone.
Yeah, well, I think I've been sent that clip from the KCCR broadcast about 20 times. Some for Cooper, some for me hurting myself on the sideline, running around like a madman. Just one of the times you lost control of your body. It happened against T when we won on the kick. But there's really not many times where I felt like I have no idea what I was doing. It hurt by the time I was done. But it just is such a crazy moment, crazy play. And really, in terms of football, you think of the middle 8 minutes of the game, the last 4 minutes of the first half, the first 4 minutes of the second half. There was a lot of momentum swings just within those 8 minutes. We went from getting the ball up a score to then getting the ball up or tied, to then hoping that they don't go down and score, to then forcing them to punt so then we can go down and score, to then hitting that Hail Mary, which was, again, just such an incredible play by so many people. We ran it in the semifinal game. It actually cleared Cooper, got to Carter, and Carter was expecting a tip, and it kind of bounced away, which, it happens. It's a very low percentage play anyways. But then, this week, we went for the block. We just missed the block, and we said, hey, if we're about the 50, we're going to give it a shot. We used our timeout to just kind of re-talk through it, even though we'd practiced it. And, great all the way around execution, getting Jaron out to his right where he can crow hop and get that ball as far as he can. Bogenhagen does a great job, making sure he's got that time on that back block. And then, we got a group of – the funnest part of that as a coach was they ran it exactly as you hope to and exactly as you do in practice. If you go back and watch it, we had Cooper in the, where the ball was supposed to go, and we had guys surrounding him. So God forbid if something did get tipped and go up in the air, we had 4 guys all the way around him ready there to catch the ball. And then once he caught the ball, I was like, gosh, he caught it. And then once he turned, I'm like, well, he's not getting brought down because he'll never hear the end of it. And I know that he's not going to let that happen. And then Stosh and Beam did a great job getting hands on the Yankton guy, so they weren't pushing Cooper per se. They were pushing the Yankton guy pushing Cooper. And they helped get him across the goal line. And, and then everything kind of went crazy, and there's a little mental gap there in remembering because you kind of black out a little bit.
Well, have you recovered from that? Are you still hurting a little bit from jumping and dancing around the sideline?
Oh yeah, there's still some sore muscles today, which is crazy to say from standing on the sideline and stuff. But again, it's one of those moments where you'll remember it forever just because of how unique it was. There's very, very few times that you can count on seeing a Hail Mary happen and work. Yeah. At any point in time in the game, not just at the end of the game, but at the end of a half or any time. So, I think that'll be a special moment too.
Well, and you talk about that, the momentum swings. I mean, really, when you look at that game, there was a chance that Yankton could have been up by 2 scores before the Pierre football team or the offense ever got the ball back. If they had scored at the end of that half, they get the ball to start the second half, they go down and score, Pierre's down by 14. But instead, you're up by 7 at halftime, and they go through, and by the second time they get the ball, they're down by 2 scores, which feels insurmountable, especially for what the Pierre Governors have done for so many years in winning state championships and what Yankton has kind of failed to be able to do. That probably felt on that sideline really deflated because they probably had the same thought too. We could be up by 14 before Pierre gets the ball back. Instead, hey, this is our second possession. Now we're down by 14 all of a sudden. This wasn't anywhere where they wanted that to happen.
Yeah, and again, I think our guys did a great job not playing horseshoes and hand grenades, because we had that opportunity to stay on the gas, and we fell off of it. We didn't get the 4th down, inside their side of the field, and then they go down to score to tie it up. And I think that was kind of the hope was that we were going to be able to manufacture those big plays early, and like we did kind of, but obviously hoping that we could build a little bit of a lead, and then in the second half really kind of turn the ball over to Porter and Jaron running, and then kind of slowly eat the clock away. Again, did we expect that it was going to be quite the game it was? No, but I think that was the fun part of looking at it is once the defense went out and got that initial stop in the second quarter or the second half, then we were able to kind of go more methodical. We weren't trying to take shot plays as much because at that point we just wanted to take away possessions from Yankton.
We got to talk about Porter Hunsley, too. He did such a great job on the defensive side. Obviously, ends up being the Joe Robbie MVP with 4 touchdown rushes and a touchdown reception, which I'm not saying that I could do anything that he could do, but he was as wide open as anybody could be in a state championship game or just in a football game to score a touchdown. But what a tremendous effort for him to play both ways in the last really 2 games. Kind of a little bit of those 3 games as well in the playoffs, but be able to put such a big run together in that state championship to win the Joe Robbie MVP.
Yeah, I mean, he's an animal. He was up last year as a freshman and started, I think, everything but the first game on defense. And, again, he's going to be even better next year. We obviously, you saw what he could do. We were trying to pitch count it a little bit early in the playoffs, and then, into the dome, even in the first half, we tried to pitch count it a little bit while we took those shots. And in the second half, or halftime into the second half, we were pretty honest with him of like, hey, man, like, don't get tired. Don't get tired because you're going to have a lot of opportunities to be tired. And then all of a sudden, then you see him breaking tackles, being on top of guys, still fighting for yards. And, I think he had, I don't know what his yards after contact were, but I know there was a lot of them. So, just very proud, of him and of so many others throughout the course of the season for rising to their moment when their moment came.
Before we start to wrap up, we're starting to run low on time. We could talk for a full hour about that game. Coach Slice might make you a little mad, and you might have to go back to him. But he's got the final Mount Rushmore to ask you, and it's a little bit of an unfair question, but it's going to be a fun one to hear your response to it. The Mount Rushmore of Pierre Governor Championship Dome moments.
A moment, so not of games, just actual moments.
And so maybe that's a little bit easier to.
Yeah, moments I think would be easy.
Games would be hard to actually put on a Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, well, the number one moment still, it has to be seeing Jacob go and get that trophy and raise it up. I mean, I don't know that there can be one, just all the way around, of pride, of emotion, of satisfaction that the guys got the job done. I don't think that there can be a better moment than that. So I put that at, not that they're ranked, I guess, technically on Rushmore, but that would be number one.
Yeah, I would say if you put it on the 1A spot, that's going to be where it's at.
Yeah. So that would be on. The kick's got to be one, and I think the Hail Mary's got to be one because those are, again, I would say those are probably the two moments that I felt like I lost control of my body momentarily, probably both resulting in a little bit of an injury at some point.
Wow.
And then, I don't know, the fourth one, I'd have to kind of take a second to think about this. That's the most challenging part is going back through and trying to figure out, I think, maybe the strip sack in 2017, where we get the ball back against Harrisburg, and clinch that first title. That was another one that was a pretty special moment. Again, just the way that game went where, you could watch the game and still have to check the score to make sure we won because it didn't always feel like we won that game. But that was the moment that we did. Was Matt Rounds goes and strips the quarterback from Harrisburg, and then Austin Sanger jumped on the ball, and that's what started it all.
And Slice is pretty much right there with you. He has the Hail Mary. And he also has Jacob Van Balen grabbing the trophy as well. And then he said the other two is the Zabel to Kaiser 99-yard touchdown pass, and then the kick return from this year. He's got a few less years of Pierre Governor moments in the Dome, but he's still got. I mean, the fact that he's got 4 already that stand out pretty, and he's been with the group for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I mean that says a lot about what the Pierre Governors have been able to do, and the coaching staff that has been here just for a couple years have some pretty big moments, and those are 4 pretty good moments to put on your Mount Rushmore, too.
Well, the Zabel to Kaiser one was definitely one I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Because that was good. But, just again, in terms of making a moment, that one wasn't a clincher at the time. It was a big play, huge momentum swing. But I gave the nod to the Harrisburg one because that was the game was over at that point. All we had to do was take a knee, and it was over. So I think just the energy surrounding that moment, because then everybody knew it was happening. I think that's the only reason I really gave that one the nod.
And again, kind of an unfair question, but 2017 you win the first state championship. Now here in 2025, do you ever think that the possibility of winning 8 out of 9 state championships was in that realm of possibility in 2017?
No. That's never. The goal is to win it every year. That's obviously the mentality you have to have. But I remember when we moved here, talking to my wife when we came in and just setting goals. We're like, well, I think I was 27 my first season here, and we're like, I want to win 1 by the time we're 30. It's like I just want to win 1 because again, I think the hard part when you become a head coach is, there's a lot of great coaches that can be phenomenal coordinators or position coaches that just maybe when you get to the head coach, it's just not your deal. You're better within the scheme or within the technique than you are with having to manage everything. You see that all the time in college, where a guy will be a phenomenal coordinator, go be a head coach, not make it, and then have to go back and be a coordinator. And that was a big reason why we wanted to try this, to see if, hey, let's see what this head coaching stuff is about. And, kind of felt like it'd be in 3 years, I'd either be back coaching just offense or just O-line, or I'd still be here. And, it's worked out, and it's been such a fun journey, through these last 10 years. But, there's no way to say that we'd have expected this. I don't even know that we'd say we've hoped for this. All we can hope is that we reach our potential every season, and you could argue we've surpassed our potential in some seasons. You could say we've met it in some seasons, but I don't know that we've failed to meet it, and that's ultimately been our real goal as a coaching staff.
Well, since Steve Steele has been the head coach of the Pierre Governors, a playoff record of 27-2 for the Governors in 10 years. That's a pretty outstanding. That's an outstanding record to have, 27-2. And Blake Dean had said too on the post game show on Friday. He goes, there are guys that wait a whole career to have the resume and won't have the resume of what Steve Steele has, and you have it in the first 10 years as a head coach of the Pierre Governor. I know I can speak for the community and how much we appreciate you being here, but what you do for the kids, what the kids do for the community, what the coaching staff that you brought in and continue to have throughout throughout your 10 years. I know that you're not going to say it's all because of you, and that's fine, but there's a lot that stems from what Steve Steele and this has done with this Pierre Governor program, and I know there's a lot of people that would echo that statement as well.
Thank you. And there's so many hands involved in this, and it's you think back just to the amount of coaches we've had, over this 10-year journey. Obviously we've got our staff now, but Matt Thorson's down doing great things at West Central. Nathan Nas is down doing stuff in Winter. Sean, phenomenal coach, obviously with his career change, moving over to just staying and not moving over, but just staying on the wrestling side. Aaron Gronwald down, he's a head coach down in Arizona now. There's just so many people that have had a hand in this and helped us get it to this point. And, and obviously there's all the kids, there's so many kids, if you're thinking of a master roster of everybody that's been a part of this, it's pretty incredible to think about, and just to see all the kids that have come through. And, now there's kids that have kids, and kids that are married and kids that are off into the real world and everything. And I think that's been a really fun part of this journey personally, is just being able to connect with them when they're back in town, or when Gray's draft deal, there was a whole slew of them all back for that, and being able to reminisce and just kind of hear their journeys and where they're at, and how football and being a Pierre Governor's made a little bit of an impact on that. So it's definitely humbling to think about it in its entirety.
This is the final segment of Coach's Corner between for you here this year until next fall rolls around for the next football season. But I appreciate you coming on every Wednesday. Appreciate you talking with me every pregame show, just about every postgame show. Obviously, the state championship ones, it's impossible to get up to me. Otherwise, we have to be on the air for about 3 hours before you can finally come up and actually do a postgame interview. But I appreciate it all, and it's been fun to continue to watch this journey. It's been fun this year, and I could go another 10 minutes talking about like a all Pierre Governor roster, and I don't want to do that because of all the names that I'm going to leave off that should be on an all Pierre Governor roster, because in the span of 10 years, there's been some heck of athletes that, you think about a quarterback right now, they're all the last 10 years of the state championship run, all of them deserve to be the starting quarterback of the all Pierre Governor roster, but you have to pick one, and that would be impossible. You could say, well, there's one.
That wouldn't be fun.
There's one that's playing at Ohio State, but how about all the other ones that have been the all-state quarterback every single year? It's fun to think about the success of what the Pierre Governors have had. But again, I appreciate you coming on every Wednesday talking on Coach's Corner and every pregame show, postgame show that we've had this year.
Thanks, John. Appreciate all your guys' coverage throughout, not just football season, but throughout everything all season long or all year long, and appreciate getting to talk to you once in a while.
I think, obviously your coaching duties for the Hawaii Capitals deal with some of your small kids that are playing some hockey, but you might end up not coaching, but being a color commentator for the Hawaii Capitals as the year goes on. Which
you never know.
I was going to say, which will be fun to have. Coach, appreciate it. Congratulations again on the state championship, and we'll talk to you again at some point. We'll see you next week for NFL picks.
Sounds good. Thanks, John.
That's head coach Steve Steele. The Pierre Governors will return with more Coach's Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota in Pierre is proud to sponsor today's game. Whether you're in the market for a brand new Ford, Lincoln, or Toyota, or a quality pre-owned vehicle, our team is here to get you back on the road in style. From tough trucks to family SUVs, we've got the selection you need and the hometown service you deserve. Browse online anytime at CapitalCityFordToyota.com. Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota, where community drives us forward.
Building a home. It's the biggest investment most of us make in a lifetime. Not to mention, it's a decision that, well, you pretty much live with day and night. The quality of the workmanship stares back at you like a reflection. It also affects the value of your investment. Choosing the right contractor is critical. Kruger Contracting is that contractor. Call 222-2523. Quality workmanship and materials completed on time. Kruger Contracting. In a word, quality. Call 222-2523.
That's a clown question, bro.
You're listening to Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
As we welcome you back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Join me as Coach Jim Wadeen of the Hawaii Capital girls varsity team as they get set to begin their season that will start Saturday and Sunday in Mitchell and in Aberdeen. And Coach, it's good to talk to you again. This is a team for the Hawaii Capitals the last couple of years. You haven't lost a lot to graduation. We'll specifically talk about going into this year. You lost 2 to graduation last year. However, one being your starting goalie from the last couple of years, and then one of the most prolific goal scorers in the state, in Bradley Kafka, Sophia Pashang being that goalie. While it is nice to only lose 2 seniors because it can be a lot at times, those are 2 big shoes to fill. How has that been in practice to kind of see the new roles take place for some of these girls?
Yeah, well, we've talked a lot this year about needing some new goal scorers to step up. And we've got them. We've got a few girls that have taken the challenge, and they've been working on their shooting and working on finding a way to get the puck in the net. So I feel real good about that. Real good about where some of the girls are at right now.
And, the thing, too, with this team that is returning quite a bit, there is a lot of girls that were in the score column. A lot of goal scoring, a lot of assists for these players from last year. So it's not like it's not coming from anywhere, but it is nice to have that another year of confidence, another year of that veteran leadership for a lot of these girls that are still young. I mean, still, while there are seniors again on this team, it's still a young Hawaii Capitals team that just continues to build as the future continues to get here.
That's right. Yeah, we had a lot of great talent on our U14 team a few years ago, and those girls have continued to progress in their skill sets and their game knowledge and teamwork, and they're just a real fun group of girls to watch right now.
This team from last year won 13 games overall, 4th place in the state tournament at the state tournament last year. Now you move into this season against Mitchell and Aberdeen to open things up. 2 really competitive teams every single year. Mitchell still, from last year going into this year, seeing some more of those players fill in new roles. What do you kind of expect from them going into that first game of the season on Saturday?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough go. Mitchell always puts together a really good team, and so does Aberdeen. We've really struggled against Mitchell over the last few years, so I'm hoping that we can get a win in that column this weekend on both those teams. But they're both going to be solid. They're both going to be really, really tough, hard-fought games for sure.
And every year. Teams are looking a little bit different, but in girls varsity hockey, you see a lot of the same names for several years in a row. I know there's going to be some teams that are saying, boy, this girl is still in the Hawaii Capitals, and she's not even a senior yet, and several names that are going to be that key. But it's the same thing for those teams. So you kind of understand a little bit about what those teams' identities are going in, but it probably, for you as the head coach or just the coaching staff in general, until you finally hit the ice and start seeing the the games start to play out, you still probably have a little bit of kind of the what is every team going to look like? What's going to be different with these teams?
Right. And the thing with kids this age is they change so much. Their physicality, their maturity, it all changes so much. And over the course of the 4 or 5 months that it's been since we've seen them, we don't know who's grown and who's really developed into their game. So yeah, to your point, until we really see them on the ice and really see how our girls match up with them, it's hard to say at this point. But it's going to be a lot of fun.
This Hawaii Capitals team, you start the year with you have a home game next week Friday against the Rushmore Thunder, but then you're not home until end of December. Not a whole lot of home games before that first of the year, but the back half kind of feels a little bit more of a home schedule. Obviously, you got to get to that first of the year and into January and February. But is it nice to be on the road as much as you are right away? Is it something that doesn't really matter to you one way or the other? What's that feeling of having so many road games to start the season?
Yeah, I think I would prefer to get the road games done early in the season the way we are this year. I think it just kind of combines in some of the emotions and some of the uncertainties, and I think if the girls can rise above these challenges that we've got in these first couple weeks here, it'll make us all the stronger on the second half of the season.
What's one thing that really excites you about this group, this year's team, the 2025-26 Capitals? What's one of those things that really excites you?
We have a really broad spectrum of skill sets. We've got girls that can skate really fast. We've got girls that can shoot the puck really, really well. We've got a great goaltending lineup. Kylie Fromm is doing a fantastic job this year. And so is Taylor Alderlings, just doing a fantastic job. So our goaltending looks really good for this year and for the next couple of years ahead. And then, like I said, just our skating roster with the girls just looks really good, and our team dynamics seem to be probably stronger than I've seen in the 4 years that we've been doing this. So. It's really a fantastic group of girls.
You can talk with Coach Jim Wadeen of the Hawaii Capitals. They take on Mitchell and Aberdeen a Saturday and Sunday. Be a 12 o'clock puck drop on Saturday against Mitchell, and then a 11 o'clock puck drop on Sunday. The boys will play Saturday night and Sunday afternoon as well, but all 4 games will be on Capital City Rock and on YouTube at Capital City Rock Sports. Coach, before we start to wrap things up, let's go back to Mitchell and Aberdeen. Not so much the biggest key for you guys, but what's kind of the biggest thing that you're looking at going in against those teams this weekend overall? We've got to move the puck. We've got to move the puck quickly. Especially against a team like Aberdeen who play a really well formatted game. They play their positions well, and if we can move the puck quickly to get past their goaltending and to get past their other skaters, I think that'll really be the key. So that's what we're going to be really focused on here leading up to these first games. Move the puck quick, get quick shots, quick rebounds. So that's where we're headed. I was just saying that kind of leads into that final question. It might be that same answer. The biggest key overall to get 2 wins and get 4 points, is it going to be that puck movement?
It's going to be puck movement, and it's going to be rebounds, attacking the net, and really finishing strong every time we bring the puck to the net. Got to finish strong.
Well, Coach, hey, I appreciate the time as always. It's good talking to you. It's fun that the hockey season is now here. Obviously, the Capitals have played in some preseason games, but a preseason tournament not too long ago. But to have that regular season here, it's a lot of fun to have hockey season back. I appreciate the time. Good luck this season, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. That is Coach Jim Wadeen of the Hawaii Capitals. We'll return with more of Coach's Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
As community bankers, BankWest employees are deeply committed to supporting local causes, growing the local economy, and creating local opportunities. At a time when you can bank anywhere, we hope you choose BankWest. We'll be your financial partner for the long haul, helping you and your community achieve financial success. BankWest. Convenient, connected, committed. Member FDIC.
Hey you. Are you at a job that is fulfilling, has good benefits to support you or a family today, and retirement goes down the road? If you just said no, listen up. CHS River Plains is hiring operations personnel, drivers, and custom applicators at several locations. These come with a knockout affordable benefit package for you and the whole family. Apply to a job with CHS River Plains and up your benefits straight up. To apply, visit us online at chsriverplains.com or stop in at one of our locations. CHS is an equal opportunity employer.
Score big on your next vehicle purchase with Lamb Motor Company in Oneida and Gettysburg, Lamb Chevrolet and Implement in Oneida, and Lamb Auto Sales in Pierre. Check out their large selection of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs at any one of their locations, or go online to lambmotor.com. That's LAMBMOTOR.com. Or give them a call today at 800-952-2222. Lamb Motor Company of Oneida and Gettysburg, Lamb Chevrolet and Implement in Oneida, and Lamb Auto Sales in Pierre.
You're listening to Coach's Corner on Central South Dakota's sports leader, KCCR.
You like that? You like that?
As we welcome you back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Landon Badger of the Waikato boys varsity team. The season gets underway.
Congratulations to our Pierre Governors again. I mean, they've just been accomplishing over and over what we're trying to do in every single sport and having that winning culture. So great job there. And so, yeah, I mean, back to with our stuff with hockey, I mean, getting all those kids back is kind of the good test that we needed, and kind of have those familiar faces all around and be able to kind of start getting ourselves prepared in our strategic play. And yeah, energy overall has been really good, and I know the kids are ready to go. They wish it was Saturday today, but we got a few more days of preparation and be ready to go on Saturday.
Well, you know, the one thing, too, is obviously teams change from year to year, but you're facing two teams right away that made the state tournament in Mitchell and Aberdeen, and being able to go against those two teams, again, whether they've lost a lot or are building off of what they did last year, being able to go against two teams that made the state tournament, trying to get back to that state tournament this year, how nice is it to be able to be on the road, but maybe not so much be on the road, but facing those two tough teams right away?
Yeah, I mean, those two teams were some of our biggest tests last year as far as kind of where we were at and where we felt like our compete level was. It was pretty balanced with Mitchell and Aberdeen, and so we're ready for the test. We're ready to go, try to take it to them and give them our best effort, and hopefully we can come out on top in both of those games. But regardless of that, I mean, it's a big learning experience for us and a good test early on to kind of see where we're at and what we need to maybe do to improve, or just specialize on specific pieces going forward after this weekend.
And you guys are bringing quite a bit back from last year, a lot of experience that just happened last year for the first time, but there's a lot of experience that returns for this year's team. In that first couple games, how when you get rolling into the season, how key is it to kind of get guys shifts early on and be comfortable, whether there are quick shifts or maybe a little bit longer shifts early on. How do you make sure guys are getting into the flow of the game early in the first games of the season?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it every single game. It's about setting the tone early on and not waiting until the second to third period to finally wake up. And having that kind of maturity and the growth that we had from last year and all the returning players, we feel comfortable with that. I mean, we feel comfortable that we could throw out every single player out there and they could give us their best effort and be able to be competitive both defensively and offensively for us. And so that's a great note to have, and kind of shows that we have some depth. And so, yeah, early on, I mean, we've got 2-3 kids that are probably going to be getting their first time ever touched on the ice for varsity hockey this weekend, and we want to make sure that they're comfortable right away. And so, you know, we're going to have that leadership role early on, kind of lean on them to kind of give us the guidance of what we need to kind of set that early tone, and hopefully those younger kids can just kind of jump in and develop right with us, and we can get the ball rolling early.
And then on the same side of for the goalies that last year it was the same guy. Jackson started every single game. There's guys that were able to play a little bit as the season went on and late in games. But whoever is starting Saturday, and if they're starting Saturday and Sunday, or if there's two different goalies that start Saturday Sunday, it's going to be the first start of their varsity career. How key is it for them to, you love to see 0 shots on goal for an entire game against a goalie, but how important it is for them to see a puck early on and make a nice save, make a good save early on to get in the flow of that game?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got 5 kids that are all competing for that varsity spot, and, it's not just one spot on the varsity at this point. Last year was a little different deal. We had 4 kids that were young and needed to learn how to develop, and so they got a ton of time JV-wise, and Jackson was kind of our leader on the varsity side. And as the season went on, we started to see those kids actually start to push Jackson more and more and be in the spot to where now we're starting to consider, do we give one of them their opportunity? So that's the growth that you want to see over a season. And so going into this year, yeah, I mean, whoever gets that first role, I mean, it's going to be their first touch. And we're going to go with one guy on Saturday and a new guy on Sunday. We want to be able to kind of get those kids that growth. And, there's 3 kids that aren't going to get their opportunity this weekend on the varsity side of things, and that's okay, but that's where the fun part of it comes in, of challenging each other every single opportunity. And, you talk about kind of what do you want to see as far as right away is we want to see our whole entire team back up our goalie, whoever it is that's between the pipes, and understand that as a goalie, we always talk about you make that first save, and from there, I mean, you compete. And as a defensive player, that kid's going to probably have a little bit of those nervous jitters the first day, and so you've got to be there as support for him right away and making sure that when he makes that initial save, you're picking up the puck and getting ourselves transitioned right back into the offensive zone as quick as possible.
How nice, how nice of a problem is that to have? Or maybe it makes your hair a little bit gray right now, trying to figure out who you're going to go be your starting goalie in the first 2 games. But it's got to be a good problem to have, knowing that there's 5 capable goalies that at least at the beginning of the season saying, hey, we can go with any of these 5 right now.
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, maybe not gray hairs, but maybe my hair falls out type of deal. But no, it's a really good issue to have. It's a big challenge, and I talk with every one of our kids. I mean, goalie position is one of the most challenging positions to play because one person plays it, and so at a given time. And so, I mean, we talk about them as far as when you're not getting your opportunity, it's what kind of a character are you building for us team-wise? Are you the kid that's sitting in the corner, or are you the kid that's still up trying to kind of hype up your team and hype up your goalie and making sure that you're cheering them on, and when you get your opportunity, you're going and capitalizing on every opportunity? And I talk with them, every goalie wants to have a perfect save percentage throughout a season. It's almost impossible, and that's okay. And so we look to how do you respond to kind of the negativity or the failure that happens from time to time, and how do you kind of pick yourself back up when you know that we could just go to somebody else. And the responses that you get from there and the growth that you see is, it ends up helping you in anything in life. And so, yeah, it's a tough challenge with us, but these kids are all optimistic and they're all working as hard as they possibly can, and they understand the situation, and they're ready for whatever opportunity they get.
And then offensively, we'll talk a little bit about that too. A lot of the goal scoring. Keegan Kitts had a lot of it from last year. Obviously, has graduated, but the experience. Going back from that first question, the experience that is coming into this year from last year. A lot of guys that maybe scored 2 or 3 goals all season might be scoring 10 to 15 or 20 goals by the end of the year, but just by what you were able to have last year and now coming into this year, everybody a lot more confident offensively, and probably going to see you're going to really going to see 5-6 different guys probably score a lot of points over the course of the season this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about it a little bit when it came to that Aberdeen Jamboree a few weeks ago. If I remember right, it was six players that had scored during that weekend, and we had, I think it was 12 kids that had a point in the weekend. Last year, I mean, we didn't even have that many kids throughout an entire season really getting more than 2 goals or 5 points in the season. And so, yeah, we're going to see the depth, we're going to see the growth, and we're going to be able to be competitive from top to bottom, and that's what you want to see. I mean, when you go and you look at Rapid City or you look at Brookings and kind of those teams that have been the top team, and if there's a stat that you want to look at there as far as skater stats, I mean, look at how many players are getting 10-plus goals and 10-plus assists on a season. And when you see that, that's the depth that you want. And we believe truly that we're going to have that, whether it's 9 guys or 12 guys, maybe even up to 15 guys on our team that are making that possible. And it all comes with just having that good winning mindset and having that team camaraderie as a whole and kind of working as a whole group. Because when you have that happen, I mean, that's when you see all those extra points kind of add up versus one guy going down and back to go and make those goals happen. And so we see a lot of depth this year, and we're excited to kind of show that off.
Start to wrap up here. Let's talk about, again, Saturday and Sunday, Mitchell and Aberdeen. What do you expect from those two teams going into this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, with Mitchell, I mean, every single year is just an optimistic deal. And Mitchell is always a team, no matter if they have the best guys or not as skilled of guys, they're always competitive. And, they lose their number one scorer, Denny, from last year. And so we're unsure as far as what we're to expect. But, I mean, they had 2 or 3 other kids that were scoring just as many goals as Denny or just right under him. And so we've got to be ready to kind of shut them down and expect that there's got to be some young and upcoming guy that's going to be ready to go and kind of fill in those roles too. And so, I mean, if we wear them down early, and like I said, you set that tone early on, we feel really confident that that game can kind of lean our way by the end, as long as we can wear down a team as the game goes on.
And then for Aberdeen on Sunday?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with the Aberdeen game, they had a lot of seniors last year, and that was kind of like what we had 2 years ago. And so they have a little bit of kind of a rebuild season this year, but we've already gotten the opportunity to see them once, and it was just as competitive as the games from last year. And so we can't be going in there overlooking, well, they had 10 seniors that have graduated, so they have to fill in all those spots. Those next kids they're hungry and they're stepping up right into that spot, and it's as if they already have all that experience. And so we've got to make sure that we do a good job of taking care of our body when we get done with that Mitchell game, getting ourselves prepared for that next game. And I mean, truly, it's going to be a big battle. I don't see that game going 7-2 one way or the other. I see that game ending up being a 3-2 game, 4-3 game of some sort, and hopefully we can be the team that wears them down by the end and the wheels fall off, and we can maybe sneak 1 or 2 in, and maybe we could get that spread to open up a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be 2 really good tests, and we've got a group that's ready to go, and they're well prepared for it.
And then biggest key overall here, obviously you want to see 2 wins here this weekend, but biggest key to make that possible for the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, sticking to our plan. Keeping our short shifts and being competitive with every opportunity you get. Last year was a year that we had a lot of young and immaturity, and now this year we have a lot more of the maturity side. And so we're looking for the kids that are willing to go, and when they get their opportunity, they jump up and they are ready to go. And when they don't get their opportunity, they're supporting their teammates and they're ready to go as well. And anytime that name is called, they jump up and they do their job. And if we can get everyone to buy into that picture and not really have any of the kind of side conversations on the bench of somebody down because they're not getting their opportunity at one time, we feel that we're going to be confident, because when one kind of does that, it weighs on everybody. And so if we can all stay with a good positive mindset and be encouraging to each other, we see a really good outcome coming from the weekend.
Well, Coach, I appreciate the time as always. Good talking to you. Looking forward to the first games of the regular season this weekend. Good luck, and we'll talk to you in the pregame shows.
Thank you very much.
That's head coach Lana Badger of the Hawaii Capital Boys varsity team. Both those games and the girls will be playing at the same time in the same places this weekend. So we'll have 4 hockey games coming up on Capital City Rock and on YouTube at Capital City Rock this weekend as the season gets underway. Back with more Coaches Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
This fall, take some time to think about your future while the leaves make their way down to earth and the last sunset of summer leaves us with an autumn chill. It's time to grab the nearest foam finger and break out the face paint. Rush the stands with First Dakota National Bank and forget how to blink. Fall sports are back with jaw-dropping plays, an electric atmosphere, and epic scores. Make some noise with First Dakota National Bank. Open a new account online today at firstdakotanationalbank.com. Member FDIC.
Most of us already know that Gales Gas of Pierre is the place to call for propane. They offer an automatic fill plan so you never have to worry about running out of propane. They accept debit and credit payments or a budget payment plan to spread out the cost throughout the year so you never have surprises when you get your bill. For delivery, convenience, and great customer service, call Gales Gas at 224-5518. That's Gales Gas at 224-5518.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now I'm playing for real.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good. What play should I call now? Maybe corner 3.
He's hot. He is hot. Keep feeding that guy.
Now back to Coach's Corner with KCCR award-winning sports director John Winkler.
As we welcome back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Sean Lewis of the Pierre Boys Wrestling Team. Practice got underway on Monday. A couple days now in, and Coach, you're obviously, it's always been the case for the last 9 years that guys go from football and right into wrestling. But just as it goes every year, getting right into the swing of things, what's this year been like to get rolling with practice for the first couple days?
It's been interesting. We're giving a couple of football players some time off. I mean, obviously, Porter Hunsley playing both sides of the balls, earning that Joe Robbie Award, and he flat out earned his keep in that game. We're going to give him a few solid 3 days off, but he's been at practice. All the football players, Eilers and Binger, they've been at practice just supporting their guys. They're still there being leaders. They're just not physically going through as they're, trying to get their bodies ready. But, for the rest of the crew that, they weren't necessarily either integral parts of the football team or, weren't out for football. And so we've got, a solid about 33 guys that are rocking and rolling right away from the jump, and it's nice to see a lot of young kids, as happens kind of every single year, but guys who've been impressive with their efforts so far.
And obviously you get a lot to figure out, and those wrestle-offs that come up next week are big stepping stone for guys, maybe getting their positions. Maybe some do get their positions, but just to kind of for you to see where these guys maybe fill in too in different spots. But every year is just a little bit different. Every year you start to reform a lineup after some seniors leave. Guys maybe fill into different weight classes because, from the time that they're 14 years old, by the time they're 18 years old, probably don't weigh the same anymore, and a lot different build to them all. But what does this year's team kind of look like from the first couple of days? Starting to get into the season, what are you kind of expecting from this team?
Yeah, the guys who've kind of been around, expecting quite a bit. We do have quite a bit of returners from last year, either, state place winners, finalists, or even state qualifiers. We had lots of guys who were in that blood round and took that blood round loss, so going 1 and 2 at state and being right there on the brink of placing. And so, we're really going to lean on those guys quite a bit to, fill those varsity lineups, ultimately be leaders. Is, in any program you want, you really want your most successful kids to be your hardest workers, to be your leaders. It doesn't always kind of go in that realm, but your hardest worker always has to be your leader. And so, we're kind of preaching that, especially to our older guys, and then letting the other guys know the expectation. And then, moving into the wrestle-offs. Next week, they're kind of formal wrestle-offs, yet not formal all at the same time. I mean, it'll be a mix of wrestle-offs for varsity spots. We don't force guys to have to wrestle off for a varsity spot if they're not there developmentally or, just ready for that. But we do like to get everybody out on the mat just to kind of get those jitters out, just to figure out how to lace up the shoes, put on the singlet, get a headgear adjusted, and everything else that goes with, stepping on the mat for the first time. You think about it, some kids, probably never wrestled a lot of matches if they're brand new, or never wrestled a match. And so, how do you put the ankle band on? How do you toe the line? How do you get set, in front of and behind the markers, and then listen to an actual referee, not just a coach in practice blowing the whistle and saying go. So there's quite a bit that goes into it, but we like to get out on the mat. We're going to start that at 5:30 on the 25th of November, and it's kind of a busy day. We get team pictures and a bunch of other stuff out of the way, and so it's a day that there's a lot of chaos, but it's also us getting a chance to get out on the mat, and then ultimately getting in front of a crowd as well, just kind of letting parents see, hey, this is so far, very, very briefly, what we've put together for a team thus far.
And we always joke every single year. It's kind of funny because to wrestle in a pure crowd during the regular season is probably the best spot to be in the state. But when it comes to the wrestle-offs, it's very quiet. It's very, and it's not because nobody wants to cheer, nobody wants to see somebody do good, but you don't want your other guy to not do good. So it's always that mixture of being able to be in front of the best fans, the best wrestling fans in the state, but they're going to they sit on their hands a little bit during the wrestle-offs because they understand. They're smart fans too. They understand winning and losing is peer and peer. There's not peer against somebody else when you're winning and when you're losing. It's all peer guys. So it is a good opportunity to kind of get, like you said, those jitters out because wrestling at Riggs High School is such a neat experience for those guys.
Yeah, our dual atmosphere, regular duels, this one aside, is probably one of the most and best atmospheres in high school, wrestling. There's other schools that put on, pretty close. They get there, but I think we do a great job production standpoint, attendance standpoint, just kind of the whole kit and caboodle of what goes into one of our home duels that, when we go somewhere else, it's not the same at all. But our wrestle-offs is a bit of an oddity. We try and play some background music to try and get a little bit of that uneasy tension that's out of there. And, we'll talk to the kids, we'll direct them, and then they kind of already know the reality of the situation is, you have two guys out there, but both of them are your teammates. So we don't care if it's your brother, your best friend, your whatever. Like, there is no cheering, there is no coaching, not even from the coaches. It's kind of odd that some of them, they'll even look to the side expecting us to give them a signal as for what to do, and they should, but just not in that scenario. We try not to inject ourselves in it. We try to hire professional refs to come in, certified refs, and if not, then us coaches will step in. But ultimately for that one, we like to completely remove ourselves from the situation and just sit back and take notes. A lot of it that's kind of what we do. Coaching staff will sit, take notes, compare afterwards, and then we also use it as an evaluation tool of, hey, where do we need to get better? Because until you actually see kids in live fire, you can think what we need, but until you can see it and then put it on paper, that's a good evaluation tool. So, we use it for a lot of different facets.
And, obviously, as the tournaments go along during the season, you and your coaching staff is getting to every single match. But if there is somehow a lapse somewhere where just all the coaches are somewhere else and somebody ends up being it is kind of nice to kind of have them think for themselves too, maybe where they don't need to look over to you. An opportunity to kind of force them to really again think about what the situation they're in and being able to get it out themselves, or maybe roll into a good situation.
Yeah, we hope that we've got enough coaches to cover everything, but the reality is sometimes you go to a tournament and they may start a match without a coach. I don't like it. I wish that NFHS would put that rule in. You can't even start a match until a coach is there, but for some schools and coaches and coverage and everything, the reality of it is it's not there. But we've got a fantastic staff. It'll give me an opportunity to, throw that out with both myself and Coach Keys being an assistant. And then we're, helped out by Kirby Cronin, Eric Williams, Chad Urig, and now also we've got Turner Blasius, who moved to town and is on staff. And so, for a high school staff, having all of that experience in there, we've got a good coaching staff. And so, plenty of coverage. As long as we can get everybody to go to the tournaments on the weekends, it's just been awesome to see them work with the kids so far.
Again, you're not a stranger to Thanksgiving rolling in the first couple weeks of the season before you get to that first tournament, but it does shorten and make things a challenge every single year to make sure guys are still getting the wrestling reps. School is out for a couple days, all that stuff before that first weekend. Again, how do you handle the Thanksgiving holiday of eating, but also of working and making sure guys are at practice and with no school? How do you handle those things?
Yeah, so we get that our first week of practice that we're in right now, and then next week is completely disrupted. We get about a half a week. You got Thanksgiving in there. You got to trust that they're going to do what they're going to do as far as their meal planning and their prep, and hopefully they're not cutting too much weight. But it is also a nice chance to step away from the sport and just kind of take a little bit of break with your family and reset. And then once we come back from Thanksgiving break, we hit it hard until Christmas, and then again you kind of get that other reset. So having 2.5 weeks of practice before your first competition, it sounds really good, but ultimately then we go to North Dakota, who's had 3.5 weeks of practice rather than our 2. And so, it does make it a challenge, but it does force our preparation a little bit. So we got to be very specific with what we're doing and trying to accomplish, especially with those varsity guys. And like I said, it puts the pressure on, but it also, that pressure, comes with a little focus. And so we're able to just hone in on the things that we need to, and then realize that very few state tournaments are won in that very first week, in North Dakota especially. And so, we put the pressure on to get prepared, but also, we're not specifically just results driven on what happens that weekend, is because we're looking for improvement. It's just the initial stepping stone of where we want to be for the year.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question of that first weekend is always, just letting it go out there and see where things are at, because, Tuesday you're going to see some different things that you still need to work on, but until you see your guys against other teams, you can really start to judge on how things are looking after that first weekend, but being able to build off of that. So that first weekend is, like you said, not necessarily results driven, but how guys maybe respond to different things and how guys are able to respond after a win or maybe respond after a loss.
Yeah, and we will see a couple South Dakota teams there. So we'll get, Sturgis is there, Rapid City Stevens is there, and then the rest of the field is all North Dakota schools that we may or may not see again. We'll see some of them at the Rapid Invite, but for the most part, it's free competition as far as not really having to worry about a win or a loss. Just go out there and do the thing and do what you do, because you'll never see these guys again. And so you get to see us kind of focus more on us instead of scouting out an opponent. And like you said, results, they are what they are. Obviously, you want to go up there and be successful and win every tournament, but the reality is just you may not have all your guys in the lineup. South Dakota has 14 weight classes. North Dakota has 13, so we got to figure out that puzzle, trying to get guys in the right weight class to figure out, and then ultimately make sure our OPC lines up. So next weekend at the Rapid Invite, when we go back to 14 weight classes, we're able to be in the weight class that we want or need to be in and kind of get more to our varsity lineup. When we go to Mandan, I probably have to make a coaching decision of, 13 wrestlers. We have 14. I got to make sure that somebody doesn't fit and stay home. And that's ultimately mine and the coaching staff's call, and just kind of how weight classes line up. But like I said, it's a puzzle, but we'll figure it out. We'll fit it in, and the kids will be better afterwards.
You can talk with Coach Sean Lewis of the Superior Governor boys wrestling team, as they'll have the wrestle-offs next week Tuesday, and that first tournament in Mandan that first Friday and Saturday of December. Coach, before we start to wrap things up, we go into Thanksgiving, we start to get closer to the end of the football season. I want to ask you right now, because the NFL season has been a wild season so far, who's your favorite to go win the Super Bowl right now? We're going to talk at the end of the season and get your Super Bowl prediction before the Super Bowl.
Wow,
but right now,
Super Bowl, that's the pressure.
Give me a team that you feel like could go win one right now.
Picking a Super Bowl winner before we have the two teams in the Super Bowl or even a playoff bracket.
Yeah, that's right.
This is nuts. I mean, it would right now. Can you bet against the Denver Broncos? But I don't really think that they would be my pick. But they would be hard to bet against. I really think, and I mean, I've been kind of on their bandwagon for the last couple years. They just haven't gotten it done. But it just seems to me like the Buffalo Bills are kind of putting it together. The Eagles would also be hard to bet against, just to the fact that I think their defense is doing enough. Their offense is, I mean, it's weird at times. They look really, really good, but then they also look really, really bad at times. So I'm a huge Josh Allen fan. I'd probably have to say, if I were to make an early season or mid-season, I guess is where they're at currently, I'd probably pick the Bills.
All right, now I'm going to go even another step of who's going to win the college football championship at the end of January, middle of January.
Okay, this one's so tough for me. My college season, being a Penn State fan, has been an absolute... I mean, we went from the highest expectations to the lowest of lows and not in the picture, so I can step back from it and I can take a look at the whole scenario. Picking anybody in the SEC, I think, would be just a terrible decision, because I think they're going to cannibalize one another by the time they get there. But, I mean, week in and week out, I've not really seen a better team than Ohio State. They seem to be the most complete team, offensively, defensively, even kind of into their two deeps. They have backups who've added validity to what they're doing. And I mean, even if they were to take an injury somewhere, just because of the depth that I think that they have, I just don't see them being stopped, other than, some kind of just collapse with what they're doing. But, confidence-wise, I think it's an easy pick. They're rated number one, but I also think that is by far the safest pick, even though it's the hardest one for me to do, because I'm not a Buckeyes fan at all.
I was going to say, outside of one guy being there, it's really hard to make make that decision or make that call and make that prediction.
Yeah, but I'm also secretly, not secretly, I've been pretty public with it. I mean, Penn State's still looking for their coach. I mean, Brian Hartline, the offensive coordinator for Ohio State, that is the first guy that I would hire. And I know he's like 3 or 4 on most, quote unquote, professional people who are trying to pick. You don't know, because every guy that's been on the list has now gotten a contract extension to keep him at the school that they're at. So as I've went through the list, I'm like, I don't know. I don't care if he's 2 or 3 on anybody's list. That is the guy, which I'm hoping is why it's taken so long for Penn State to announce. And I'm hoping it's just going to continue to take longer, as I think the longer that their coaching search goes, the more likely that the guy actually is Brian Hartline. And that's the guy that I want to coach my Penn State Lions moving forward.
All right, we'll wrap it up here. Let's go back to wrestling. Let's just focus on the wrestle-offs. Your biggest key to seeing the best wrestle-offs is to seeing that you're in the best position going into that Thanksgiving weekend. What do you want to see from that wrestle-off to put you in that best spot?
Yeah, I just want to see that our kids are, fundamentally developing, and, conditioning-wise, they're ready to go to put a good product on the mat. And ultimately, I think the best thing for us as a team moving forward is our experienced guys need to spread out. We need to be able to spread out into all 14 weight classes, not be lumped up anywhere. And so if we're able to actually spread out, fill those 14 weight classes, and develop throughout the year, I think we're going to be in a good position.
Coach, appreciate the time. It is the first one of the year. We'll be talking plenty during the wrestling season, but looking forward to it. Appreciate the time, and good luck this season.
Absolutely. Thanks. Go Govs.
That's head coach Sean Lewis of the Pierre Boys Wrestling Team. Back with more Coach's Corner this here on KCCR and on YouTube, and online at kccrradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
People helping people. Have you ever wondered what the benefits are of becoming a Owyhee Federal Credit Union member? At Owyhee Federal Credit Union, we reinvest profits in you. We do this in the form of lower interest rates, higher dividends, and low to no fees. So come check us out or come in at 221 East Pleasant Drive in Pierre, because at Owyhee Federal Credit Union, we treat our members like they own the place because, well, they do.
Owyhee Federal Credit Union.
Shane's Pharmacy, your healthcare is important, and Shane wants to be the pharmacist to take care of you. Shane's Pharmacy will make sure your prescriptions are filled in a timely manner, they will answer your questions, and they will even deliver to your home or office. Call 223-9200. Shane's Pharmacy, the pharmacy you know and trust. The number again is 223-9200. Shane's Pharmacy in Fort Pierre, proud to support high school athletics.
Look, it's no secret that owning a vehicle can cause a lot of stress, and they get a lot of wear and tear on them through every season. Graham Tire wants you to know that you can trust them with any problem that you have with your vehicle. They have fully trained ASE certified mechanics on staff, ready to handle it for you. From brakes and bearings to alignments and front ends. Let their experience work for you. Over 50 years combined means you can count on them. So if it's time for a transmission flush or even a simple oil change, the only name you need to know is Graham Tire, 421 West Sioux Avenue in Pierre.
Let me talk to you.
You're listening to Coach's Corner on Central South Dakota's sports leader, KCCR.
Yeah.
And we welcome you back inside the KCCR studios as we wrap up another edition of Coach's Corner. We will be breaking for the Thanksgiving holiday. We'll return that first Wednesday of December. That'll be coming up here in just 2 weeks from today. But we want to thank our coaches, Steve Steele, the Pierre Governors, Landon Badger of the Hawaii Capital Boys team, Jim Woodine of the Hawaii Capital Girls team, and Sean Lewis of the Pierre Boys Wrestling team. Hawaii Capitals hockey coming up here this weekend on Capital City Rock and on YouTube at Capital City Rock Sports. We'll have 4 games, 2 boys, 2 girls in Mitchell on Saturday, Aberdeen on Sunday. Looking forward to having Hawaii Capitals hockey back on the air on Capital City Rock. Again, thanks to our coaches, wrapping up another edition of Coach's Corner here on KCCR. Have a good rest of your night.
You've been listening to Coach's Corner on KCCR, presented by the South Dakota Office of Attorney General, Division of Consumer Protection. Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com is also brought to you by Bank West, Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota, Todd's Electric, Oahe Federal Credit Union, Shane's Pharmacy, Missouri River Dentistry, CHS River Plains, Edward Jones Financial, Fording Electric, First Dakota National Bank, Gales Gas, and Lamb Motors. Join us each Wednesday at 5:30 on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com for more Coach's Corner. This has been a special presentation of Riverfront Broadcasting Sports, Central South Dakota's sports leader.